With Boro in really flat form right now, as well as a January so far that has only been a little bit worrying, now is the time for Boro to pull out a really big result. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Project Boro preview show. Feels like it's the first one we've done in absolutely ages, but we are back looking ahead to a game in the Championship this weekend as Boro go down all the way to the south coast to Fratton Park to play Pompey. And it's a very long trip, it's a very tough trip for Boro, and we go down there in pretty bad nick. Okay, not bad nick, but not great nick at all. 2 wins from 9 for Boro, struggling for form at the moment, especially at home. The overall mood just around the club at the moment and the fans is one that's flat, it's apathetic, our form's not been great, we don't know what the future holds for some of our big players. It kind of feels like what was a steady, strong season has started to unravel a little bit, and Boro now have to go all the way down to Pompey and pull out a result. And although you might think Pompey are a team down towards the bottom of the league, a team Boro should easily beat, when you look at their home form, which we will in a bit, this is probably one of the toughest games Boro could be facing right now. But yeah, on Boro at this moment in time, and it is worth mentioning, Pompey are playing right now, as I'm recording this, away to Blackburn on Wednesday night, so we don't know what that result is going to be. So I'm only going to really focus on Pompey's results prior to their trip to Blackburn. We are hoping, of course, that they get something from Blackburn, because a win for Blackburn would take them above us in the playoffs, and that's why Boro are in the predicament that we are in. We desperately continue to hope and pray that Boro can put forth even a small run of good results that will just pull them that little bit further away from the chasing pack and just make that playoff spot that little bit more solid. But we continue to fluff our lines, dropping points to teams we really shouldn't be, and dragging ourselves into a scrap that we really shouldn't be a part of. And Pompey's result tonight might very well affect where Boro are going into this game, and of course it will affect where Pompey are as well. So we won't look into that. But before we do look deep into Pompey, I spoke to my good friend Tom from 4-0 Written All Over It to hear his thoughts on Portsmouth right now.
Hi Matt, hope you're well. Thanks for asking me on to the channel. Just going to tell you a little bit about Pompey and how we're doing at the moment, and things at home are going really well. Things away from home are not going quite so well. So we'll focus on the home form for you. I believe it's 4 wins out of our last 5. There's some really big wins against the likes of Swansea, Bristol City, Preston in there, which we've really enjoyed, and a big win against Frank Lampard's Coventry before Christmas too. So goal scoring is not an issue. We've got really good and high goal output, which speaks for itself. I think the 3 to keep your eye on would be Callum Lang, Josh Murphy, and then of course Colby Bishop. If all 3 of those are sort of singing from the same hymn sheet, we end up pretty much by and large winning the game at Fratton Park, which is a really good position to be in. Away from home we're not so great, but you guys aren't too fussed about that. We've got a game this coming Wednesday or tomorrow at the time of recording against Blackburn, which we'll be making the trip for, but I'm not very much looking forward to, given that we have a really, really shocking away run. We haven't won a game away from home since October against QPR, and that was our first away win of the season. And particularly midweek as well, I think it's something like 8 played, 18 conceded, and 1 point taken from either home or away midweek. Either home or away midweek. Sorry, try and get my words right. So you guys have no such concerns with that. So unfortunately, you don't fall within that bracket. If it was a midweek game, I would genuinely be saying expect a completely different Fratton Park, because that's what we've seen so far this season, albeit quite a small sample size. So expect a really good game. Looking forward to having you down. Looking forward to the game itself. Got to get Blackburn out of the way first, but then on to the weekend. Thanks very much for having me on, and hope you enjoy the rest of the video.
Thank you very much for jumping on, Tom. I will put a link to his brilliant channel in the description. He does loads of really good Pompey content and the best match day vlogs in the business, so check his channel out if that interests you. But as he mentioned, Pompey are like Jekyll and Hyde right now. They are, I don't think he'd be offended if I said, one of the worst teams on the road at the moment in the league, but they've hit a brilliant purple patch at Fratton Park, and that's why I said at the top of the video, this is probably not the time Boro want to be travelling all the way down to Fratton Park, because they've made that place a bit of a fortress of late and have put some really good teams to the sword and are scoring bucket loads at Fratton Park. So if the roles were reversed, I say that Boro failed to beat Pompey at the start of the season, again throwing points away and dropping to absolute clangers. But if Portsmouth are away, they're a different beast. And there are similarities between the two sides, to be honest with you. Pompey have a mad 10-15 minute capitulation in them, especially on the road. A bit like Boro, we have it in us to just implode in a moment's notice. But then equally, we can have a very good purple patch where we can put a team away, score loads of goals. Pompey have done that at home in recent times. So you've got two teams here who are very up and down, very temperamental, very inconsistent. This game could just blow into an absolute goal fest out of nowhere. So it really is an unpredictable one to look at. But looking a little bit deeper into Pompey's current position, Pompey currently sit 21st in the Championship, just outside the relegation zone on goal difference. And of the 25 games they've played, they've only won 5, they've drew 9, and they've lost 11, scoring 30 goals, which isn't bad compared to some of the sides around them, but they have also leaked 41 going the other way. As I mentioned, recent form does not paint a pretty picture for Pompey. They've actually lost 4 of their last 6 games, but the caveat and the key is that them 4 defeats were all on the road. They basically are in a place where they currently win every game at home, but lose every game on the road, and they just happen to have recently played more games on the road than they have at Fratton Park, because despite their horrid away form, get this, as Tom said in the snippet, they've actually won 4 of their last 5 home games, barring a 0-0 draw at home to Norwich. Portsmouth have beaten Preston, Bristol City, Coventry and Swansea, all at home. All very good teams, I may add. And not only did they beat them, they scored quite a few as well. They beat Preston by scoring 3. They beat Bristol City by scoring 3. They then beat Coventry by scoring 4. And recently, they've beat Swansea by scoring 4 as well, meaning in their last 4 home victories, they've scored a whopping 14 goals. So Boro cannot be going to Fratton Park and expecting an easy day at the office. Now, the 4 wins that they have had in that recent spell are actually their only 4 home wins all season. So prior to this run, they weren't winning at home either. They weren't winning much at all, but their recent run at home has certainly began to get the cogs turning and the wheels turning with Pompey's survival bid, and it looks like Fratton Park is going to be a crucial weapon for their hopes of staying up in the Championship. So, home form very good, something Boro have got to be extremely careful of, and with the nature of what Boro games can be like and what Portsmouth games sound like, we might be in for another Plymouth if we're not careful. So, they score a lot at home. Boro have got to be extremely defensively disciplined, something we can't always say about the Boro. Going forward, and backwards to be fair, Pompey still rank quite low in the Championship. The interesting thing though is that they're actually overperforming their XG quite a lot. So when you look at their XG and their expected goals, they're actually in the bottom 4 in the Championship for expected goals. They're right down there in 21st, an XG of 25.2. Only Cardiff, Oxford and Plymouth have created less high-quality chances than Pompey, but despite that, they're actually 10th in the league for goals scored. They're probably one of the biggest overperforming sides in front of goal in the Championship, overperforming their XG by around 5 goals, so Boro don't have to worry about them creating massive chances, but they do have to worry that there is a chance that Portsmouth might take 1 or 2 of them, even if they're not huge chances. They are overperforming their XG absolutely massively, and it's backed up by their iffy attacking numbers when you look at some of the others as well, because in other metrics they're 24th, they're ranked bottom of the league for shots on target, 22nd for big chances, 22nd for big chances missed, and they're also 23rd for accurate passes. So you wouldn't be too worried about that, but recent form tells you that everything Portsmouth have pretty much been hitting at home has gone in. So although them numbers might look promising, I also think they're a little bit deceiving, and once again, numbers Boro should not take lightly. We can also take positives from Pompey defensively as well, because they're also down the bottom for defensive numbers too. So they're 22nd in the league for goals conceded, with the third worst defence in the Championship. When it comes to goals per game, they're actually joint second with Luton. Luton just happen to have played more games and conceded more goals at 44, but Portsmouth have conceded 41 goals so far this season, so a pretty weak defence right there. Their XG against also pretty much mirrors identically the sort of chances they're conceding. They have the third highest XG against numbers in the Championship at 41.1. Only Stoke and Plymouth have given up more high quality chances to the opposition, so their XG against is bang on with the goals they've conceded, and only Stoke and Plymouth, as I say, have a worst XG against record. But this again could be deceiving, because of the 41 goals that Portsmouth have conceded this season, only 11 have been at Fratton Park. That's right, only 11. That means they've conceded a whopping 30 on the road, but only 11 at Fratton Park. They actually have a positive goal difference at home of +6. They've scored 17, conceded 11. They have a better home goal difference than Boro do at the moment. Our goal difference at home is only +5. Theirs is +6. So again, defensively, you look at it and go, oh, they don't look great. But they actually don't concede much at Fratton Park. They also score a lot at Fratton Park, despite their XG and creative numbers not being all that great. So this is one of them very rare scenarios where the numbers do tell you a story, and I'm always a big data guy, as you guys know, but there is just something about Pompey at Fratton Park right now that sort of defies the numbers, where they find a way to score quite a lot, and their defence is actually a lot better than what it is on the road. As for their lineup, it's quite interesting to see what Portsmouth team might rock up, because they have injuries in defence, which is a big issue. They've had to play Marlon Pack in the back four. He was at right centre-back last time they won. They played at home, beating Swansea 4-0. And he is suspended for the Boro game. I believe he might have actually been suspended for the reverse fixture as well, if I'm right. But they have had to play Marlon Pack in the centre of defence. He's now also suspended, so there will be holes in Pompey's back line. And very much like Boro, I think there's two teams here that can be a little bit suspect with their defences. You don't quite know what you're going to get from their defences, but they have very, very good attacking players. And as Tom alluded to in the snippet, there are quite a good couple of players in Pompey's attacking lines. Callum Lang is a big one at number 10. He, of course, got all 4 goals in their win over Coventry at Fratton Park not too long ago. Was it 4-1? It might have been 4-1, but he got all 4 in that game. Josh Murphy is also another huge player who's been a revelation since joining from Oxford on their left-hand side. A player I've always rated, a player I've always wondered why he wasn't playing at a higher level when you see how good his brother's doing at Newcastle, but there's certainly a talented player in there. And if Pompey want to try and disrupt Boro's fullbacks, which is a target we know many teams look to exploit, I think he could be key in creating chances for this Pompey side. And of course, another player you can't disregard is Colby Bishop, who firstly made an outstanding recovery from a heart issue at the start of the season. He's come back in, not quite hit the ground running, but is certainly someone who can finish a chance or two if it is presented to him. And you can kind of see how that's backed up by some of the numbers with their players this season. So I mentioned Callum Lang. He's their top goal scorer with 9. Murphy is their second top goal scorer with 5. Bishop has got 3. So they are definitely the trio Boro have to keep their eyes on. They're both massively involved in other areas of the pitch as well. Not only has Murphy got 5 goals, he's also got 5 assists. Callum Lang is also right up there with goal contributions. Him and Josh Murphy have both got 10. So for me, they're the key. And I'm not trying to make Portsmouth sound one-dimensional, but I think Boro simply have to stop Lang and Murphy. I think if we do that, it will go a long way in nullifying the threat that Pompey will pose. You see Callum Lang's at the top of their goals per 90. He's top of their XG. He's top of their shots on target. He's absolutely everywhere. You've got Murphy at the top of their big chances created. Everything good that they do runs through them two creative players with Bishop on the end of them. So that's where Boro have got to focus their attention. And I'm a little bit worried that Boro and their weakness in midfield currently might benefit them strengths. You know, we're going to have to trust that Dijksteel, if he's the one to start on the right, can keep a good eye on Josh Murphy and sort of limit his attacking contributions. But Callum Lang is the one I'm a little bit worried about, because if he's floating in and around the number 10, if Boro don't have Aidan Morris fit for this game, which I don't think we quite will, I don't have much faith in Boro's current midfield pairing to be disciplined enough to pick up Callum Lang, whether he's dropping into spaces, playing between the lines or making late runs into the box. I just don't trust our midfield will be able to keep tabs on him and prevent him from getting into really good areas. So he could be the key, along with Josh Murphy. Talking of the Boro side, it is really quite unpredictable at this moment in time what is happening, especially with the transfer news that we're hearing from day to day. We don't quite know who's even going to be here at this point. So my team is one that's quite similar to what we've seen of late. However, there is one big notable absentee. Tom Glover will start again in goal. As we know, Dieng did say he would be back on social media, so maybe there'll be a shock and Dieng's dropped straight in. I would still prefer him over Glover, but we do know Bryn is out for the long term. I'd like Fry and Rav Vandenberg to come back in after being absent for the FA Cup game. I think Dijksteel still has the shirt at right back, same with Borges at left back. I know Engel played in the Cup, but I think Borges could start. There is an argument though for Lucas Engel, because as I've mentioned, with who I've got in front of him being Riley McGree likes to roam inside and come central, so the combinations I've discussed on Boro's left might actually lean towards Lucas Engel coming in for Neto Borges. So maybe if Engel does start, Borges will be dropped, and that's only because of what's happening up front at the moment. There's a bit of a knock-on effect currently with Boro's transfer outgoings more so. The midfield two will have to, unfortunately, remain as Barlasser and Hackney, a pair that just isn't working for me, I don't think. We've seen that enough in recent weeks. Barlasser's not in great form, Hackney's doing okay, but he's desperately missing a midfield partner alongside him who can sort of keep an eye on what happens behind him, allowing Hackney to have the licence to do more offensive work. Barlasser's just not that type of player. We are massively missing an Aidan Morris in that midfield, and I'd love nothing more than to be surprised with the inclusion of Aidan Morris, but I think he'll be on the bench. That might be Boro's best hope there. Azaz will come back in, I'd like to think, at the 10. Same with Doak on the right-hand side. I think he'll still play as normal. However, as I mentioned, I've brought Riley McGree in off the left to put Bergzorg up front. The reason is Tommy Conway is still going to be out with a hamstring injury, and Emmanuel Atilath is heavily linked with a move away. And this has been a hot topic on social media at the moment amongst Boro fans. Will Atilath play? Will he not play? My stance is quite similar to a lot of Boro fans. While he's contracted at the club, while he's a Boro player, he should take to the pitch like it's any other game. It shouldn't matter what's going on behind the scenes. It shouldn't matter what's going on outside with other clubs, transfer negotiations, etc. But we saw it in the summer with the Ipswich saga and how he was originally not going to travel down to Cardiff. It would not surprise me. As much as I don't agree with it, I think Emmanuel Atilath might be benched for this game. I don't think he'll be out entirely. I'd like to think he'll still be there, but he'll be benched. They'll dress it up as something or other, but unfortunately in the modern game right now, if a player is so heavily linked in a transfer saga, they usually aren't taken to the pitch because it might mess with their head, even though they're a professional and they should still do the job, in my opinion. But my gut feeling tells me that Lath will not start. Bergzorg will be up front, which is a worry because I just don't see Bergzorg as an effective forward. And we saw in the FA Cup game against Blackburn, I think without that real number 9 up front, Boro struggled to create all that much and test the opposition's goalkeeper all that much. So Pompey might be in with a bit of a reprieve if this is the case, because if McGree has to come in for Bergzorg, moving up to striker, that might limit Boro's ability to attack and score goals quite a bit. That is a really big worry. As for head-to-heads, not much to report really. There's only been 5 competitive games between the two sides since 2010, and 4 of them have been draws. The only win come at Fratton Park for Boro, ironically, 12 years ago, maybe almost 13 years ago, in March 2012 when we went down there and won 3-1. All the others have been draws, so these often level each other out, cancel each other out. Normally always a tight game between these two sides who end up sharing the spoils at the end of it. And that leads me on to my prediction, because Boro need a result here. We desperately need a result to get our season going We've had a big break from the league, so it feels like a bit of a clean slate to have another bunch of games that really kick on now. But I also am a little bit concerned by Boro's shaky form of late, that Fratton Park is not the sort of place you want to go. As I said, they are in hot form at home, and they're scoring a lot at Fratton Park too. So if Boro's defence are even slightly off it, then we could be in a little bit of trouble. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, both sides equally are just as susceptible to a 10, 15, 20-minute moment of madness, a spell of just utter carnage and chaos where they could concede a number of goals. So I wouldn't be surprised if Boro aren't defensively on it if Pompey put 2 or 3 past us within 20 minutes. But equally, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened the other way and Boro put 2 or 3 past Pompey in a matter of minutes. These are two sides who are just so all over the shop, so up and down. They've both, I think, thrown away a ridiculous number of points from winning positions this season. So this game could be anything. And I just keep getting this urge to think that it's just going to be a goal fest. Both teams are just going to go for it, leave the back door wide open. There's going to be goals here, goals there. I've absolutely set it up to be a 0-0. But I've gone for a match of the reverse fixture at the Riverside. Pompey 2, Boro 2. I'd love us to go there and win. But honestly, I just feel we're a little bit fragile at the minute, a little bit flat. Things aren't going great. Big players might be leaving. I think any sort of a victory here would actually be, despite Pompey's league position, if Boro can pull a win out of here, I think it would actually be a ginormous result, all things considered. So I'd take the scrappiest 1-0 ever. I don't care. But unfortunately, my gut's telling me that we'll go down there and we will draw. Hope I'm wrong. And, well, I won't speak to you guys about it until this time next week, maybe even a little bit later, because I am away this weekend in London at the Masters watching the snooker. So I will not be around to watch this game, see this game. I might check the score on my phone if I get a chance. But, yeah, I'm not going to see any of this until I'm home and I've seen the highlights. So I won't be in a position to properly review the game. And I'm not back up in the northeast until Tuesday, to which I'm instantly going to be going to Boro's home game against West Brom that night as well. So the next time I'll be discussing this game will probably be shoehorned in at the start of my next Project Boro review, which will be the middle of next week after the West Brom game. So we'll have to probably review both in the same episode there. But there is going to be one more video to come before I do go away for a short break. I'll be doing a full-on round of championship predictions, which will drop on the channel tomorrow, so stick around for that. But until next time, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments, whether you're a Boro fan, Pompey fan, or neutral, your thoughts on both sides, as well as your predictions, of course. And as always, like the video, subscribe to the channel for much more Boro and football content. We, of course, review and preview every Boro game here on the channel. And if you don't want to just watch on YouTube, you can listen over on your chosen podcast provider. Links are in the description. Give me a like, a rating over there as well. But until next time, guys, do take care. Fingers crossed for a good result and a safe journey down for all the Boro fans on Saturday. But until then, do take care, and I'll see you all in the next one.